And welcome back to Hannity. So at last night's Republican debate, one of the most heated exchanges took place over the topic of immigration. Take a look at this.
I do not support blanket amnesty. I do not support amnesty. In 2009 and 2010, where the last effort for legalization was an effort done in the Senate. It was an effort led by several people that provided almost an instant path with very little obstacles moving forward.
I'm kind of confused because he was the sponsor of the Gang of Eight bill that did require a bunch of thresholds, but it ultimately allowed for citizenship over an extended period of time. When you led the charge with the Gang of Eight, I supported it because you asked me to. I think it's important for people in elected office to try to forge consensus to solve problems. There's never going to be a perfect bill.
All right.
But when you didn't do that and you asked people to support, you shouldn't cut and run.
But Megan,
you should stick with it.
The Gang of Eight Rubio-Schumer bill would have passed, but because Ted stood up and helped lead the effort, millions rose up to kill it.
This is the lie that Ted's campaign is built on, and Rand touched upon it. That he's the most conservative guy and everyone else is a rhino. And then when you got to the Senate, you did an interview with CBS News that wasn't even part of the video where you said on the issue of people that are here illegally, we can reach a compromise. And then in the committee you said, I want to bring people out of the shadows. Now you want to trump Trump on immigration.
All right, joining us now with analysis is Fox News legal analyst Peter Johnson Jr., radio talk show host Larry Elder, Fox News political analyst Juan Williams. Juan, I'll start with you. A couple of things have happened. Paris happened. San Bernardino happened. The debate over Syrian refugees, and our director of national intelligence and our FBI director and Obama's choice to defeat ISIS, General John Allen, all warning that the immigrant population, especially from Syria, will be infiltrated by ISIS. The debate has shifted. It's changed. We have to look at it differently.
No, you don't. I'll tell you what's happening.
No, just let everybody in.
12 million people who are undocumented in this country at this moment, right here, consider that a threat. If you want to understand the idea that we have to deal with a problem as an economic issue for our companies to get the best people in here, as a
we have to deal with a problem. Let's say you have a problem.
As a security issue, think about San Bernardino. What were those people who were here? They didn't come in at the last minute.
Okay, but the problem is there wasn't any vetting done, especially in the case of the woman. But here's my question. All right, if you think we have to deal with a problem, let's say you're in a boat all by yourself, you're out fishing, the boat is taking on water, what's the first thing you're going to do?
Stop.
You're going to plug the hole.
That's it.
Right,
stop the problem.
So, Peter Johnson Jr., I turn to you. I think what every candidate on that stage said last night was we have got to secure the borders first. And even Marco Rubio said, then let the country decide what the decision will be on those that didn't respect our laws and sovereignty.
Well, I think that's the hallmark of any common sense immigration plan and any constitutional immigration plan. But I think we have to keep in mind the point that you're making, Sean, that security in a time of war is absolutely paramount. At the same time, we have to understand that xenophobia, that racism, that anti-religion doesn't work in this country. And so we need to keep our perspective, so we can't run away with it at that same time. But we need to get the borders straight, and I think these candidates have it right up. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Larry Elder, you know what? The world has shifted and things have gotten worse. We have more national security issues. You live in Southern California. You probably more than anybody else have seen the impact on the educational system, on the criminal justice system, the healthcare system in L.A., and the cost to the taxpayers of California. Explain.
Well, Sean, but for purposes of the debate last night, the issue was whether or not Cruz or Rubio have been consistent on this issue. And I think in that regard, Rubio's in trouble. He ran as an anti-immigration, anti-pathway to citizenship hawk. 2 years later, he did a 180, and now he's gone back, and his argument is, well, we're now concerned about national security, as if we weren't before. Regarding Ted Cruz, he's been consistent, but his position is difficult to soundbite because he introduced an amendment to kill the Gang of Eight bill, which is true. Schumer even said so, and he got Mike Lee, two anti-immigration hawks, and Jeff Sessions to side with him. But that took a bit of explaining. But the question is, who's been consistent? And Rubio has not been, and Cruz has.
Well, let's clear this up then for Sean Hannity and say that it is obvious from both what we've heard from Peter and Larry that national security has always been an issue, but we've got to avoid racism, xenophobia, and we've got to fix the immigration problem and not find reasons to avoid it by vilifying people who either want to come to the country or people who are immigrants and in our country.
There is no racism rooted in the fact that if you look at people in this country that are most negatively impacted by the fact that there's more job competition, driving down wages, it's the American people, Peter. The 50 million in poverty, the 46 million on food stamps, and the 95 million Americans out of the labor force, because we have millions of more people here illegally that are competition in the labor force.
It's a huge issue, and you talked about San Bernardino. We say, well, these aren't newcomers. She was a newcomer. We missed it big time.
That's right.
We didn't secure our borders in the appropriate way. We didn't take it seriously. We need to take it seriously. But at the same time, we cannot engage in wholesale condemnation of the Muslim religion or Muslim people. And at least one candidate was resorting to that kind of conduct. That's going to be rejected by the Republican Party. That's going to be rejected by Democrats and independents in this country going forward. And I think we heard that from Cruz and from Rubio as well. There's got to be a balance, but we need a strong, secure border going forward, and we don't have it.
And Sean, Sean, it came up last night about hostility. It came up last night about hostility towards Muslims. Jews are far more likely to be the victim of religious-based hate crimes than Muslims. How about a word or two about that?
That's correct, and I've stood up for my entire life, but let's not make them equivalent. Let's not have both groups coming under fire. We don't want any groups coming under fire because of the religion that they lawfully observe. If they're radical jihadists and they're violent and they want to kill,
Peter,
they should be locked up and taken out. Simple.
My only caution is there's such a big cultural divide where Sharia is the antithesis of our American constitutional system.
It is. You're correct.
And when we hear that people might infiltrate the immigrant community coming from Muslim countries, ISIS would do that, that is something we've got to pay very close attention to. While it might appear that it's a religious test, I don't believe that's it. It's an extremist test. And I don't know how you ascertain
You're hitting it on the head.
Where somebody is in their heart.
It should be an extremist test, and it shouldn't be a religious test, but some people, or at least one person, want to mix it. And that's a popular thing to do, especially when there's so much fear about our security. I think it's essentially un-American, though, to do that.
You don't really think that Sharia, anybody's going to impose Sharia law in this country, do you? No. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing that just leads people to fear and extreme positions instead of dealing with the immigration problem.
If you grew up in a country where you had the right to tell the women in your house how to dress, whether they can even leave that... Hang on.
You should try in my house. Jeez. Christian household,
hang on. No, it's not that. But if you grow up in a society where women can't drive, women can't be seen outside in public without a male relative, they can't go to school or work without their husband or their father's permission, do you bring that mentality with you or do you want to assimilate? That's a fair question.
That's a fair question, but this is the United States of America.
And some people may want to bring those values with us.
But you know what, Sean? There's no way they're going to bring those values and get us as a democracy to accept it.
But you never grew up that way, Larry.
And, Sean, it's just as extreme for the President of the United States, for Hillary Rodham Clinton, to never utter the words radical Islam. That is every bit as extreme as anything Donald Trump has ever said on the issue.
All right, guys, thank you all for being with us. Appreciate it.